Guten Morgen. Okay, jetzt machen wir die zweite Lektion für Kapitel 1. We're going to do the second lesson for chapter 1, and that is going to cover question words and question phrases, how to actually ask a question. Of course, that word in German was fragen. Okay, when we're asking questions, we had talked about before how the verb is always in second place. So that's the same thing whenever you're asking questions. So you're going to have a question word. We call those W words in German. And then a verb. And then the rest of your question phrase. And that is going to be your question setup. So you guys already learned a bunch of questions. So the first thing we learned how to ask is Wie heißt du? Wie heißt du? And if you look at that, you're following that exact pattern. So you have the question word, the verb, and the rest. Now, the rest is also always going to include the subject. So if you're not asking for the subject specifically, which this question does not, the subject is going to follow your verb. If the question were to ask for the subject, like wer ist das, then technically your subject is stuck in the question word, but you have a predicate in that sentence at the end. Don't worry if you don't know what that word means yet, that's okay. So we have two question words already. We have wie and we have wer. Both of those you should know. Wie meant how. Please repeat after me. Wie. And wer meant who. Please repeat after me. That's wer. Now, wer sounds a lot like where, but it is completely different. If we ask where, we would ask wo. So notice how those two are swapped. The wo looks a lot like who, the wer looks a lot like where, but they mean the exact opposite. Now, I'm saying wo means where, but we had learned the question for where are you from? And that was not involving wo. For that one we had woher kommst du? Where are or where do you come? And then there's the from right there. So we have three different question words for where depending on the extra preposition. So we also have woher, which means where from, and wohin, which means where to. So there are three question words for where. The other question words that you need to know are going to be wann. An example of that would be wann fängt der Unterricht an? So when. Wann beginnt der Unterricht? When does class start? Warum? Please repeat. Warum? And that's why. We have was. And that one is what. We have some modifications for wie. We can also ask wie viel, wie viele, and wie alt. The last one should seem familiar. So wie alt bist du? What does that mean again? Hopefully you got that. It means how old, how many, and this one is how much. So those are all the question words that you need to know so far. Let me highlight them for you. Make sure you have all of them written down in your composition book. We have wie, wer, wo, woher, wohin, wann, warum, was, wie viel, wie viele, and wie alt. Now, of course, that is quite a few already. just so you know, all of these are also in your spiral in case you can't find them in your notes later. I do want them in your notes, but this is page 16 of your spiral. It has all of them except for wie alt, so feel free to add wie alt to that page. All right, so now I want you to flip in your workbook to page 23, and you're going to complete exercise A 1-7. I'm going to walk you through it because it's a little bit difficult. Please make sure you have this out. Again, this is page 23. Okay, now what this page does is it's combining a couple of things. First of all, you have to ask questions. So you have to ask a question of some sort. When you're going through and you're looking at this, they actually have it set up for you already. The one thing that we haven't talked about yet is sometimes we have questions without question words. So that is this example right here. When you have a question without a question word, let me flip the page. No question words. That means you have a yes or no question. So in English, when we ask these questions, we use the verb to do in order to make that more smooth. So we ask things like, do you study at night? Or do you play soccer? Oops, too many C's. So all of those questions, when you have the do in the front, those are our yes or no questions. In German, we don't do that. In German, we just take the verb that the question is using and make that our question word in the front, so to speak. So, in this case, I'm going to do the soccer one for you because you have all of that vocab. So we have the word play, which is spielen, and soccer, which is Fußball. So we're going to have, this is our question word box, right? Our spot where the question word is. And we know we're not going to put one there. So we're going to start with our verb. So I'm going to say spielst du. Oh, sorry, that's right here. And then Fußball. So that first spot is just gone. It just disappears because we do not need a question word. So we're just going to start with our verb and then have the rest of the question the same way as before. And again, if the subject was not in the front, it's going to be in third spot. Okay, so going back to our activity, you have questions set up for you, and you have to ask using this vocabulary. So all of the verbs are missing. So for the first one, you have woher du Ascha, and you have to figure out, okay, what can I use with that in order to make it a sentence? So you had to use kommst. So that's already done. So all you do is you take woher, you put your verb in second place, it's already conjugated, you have to pick the right one, du Ascha. And then you already have an answer from her as well, but you need to use the correct verb. So you have ich. Now, of course, she could say ich komme aus Bombay, right? We could use that same verb, but if you look at it, the only common I have is this one with a T. So if you remember your S1010, that is not conjugated the right way. So you need to find another verb that makes sense with that. So instead of saying I come from Bombay, you could say I am from Bombay. And again, that is your sein, which we already did. So you should know that conjugation. So find that verb. Okay, the rest of this, when you're going through, all has to do with the vocab from this chapter. Again, I'd like you to use the vocab sheet. Please, if you don't have one, make sure you let me know so that I can get you another one.